Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Mole Trap here, and this is going to be a sort of a rare kind of video. This is going to be a news video. I know that usually, if there's some kind of news about the scene or about myself or whatever, I just try and wrap it up into the beginning, the intro of the Brood War videos that I do. But since I don't really have any Brood War videos in the pipe at the moment, and so there's some interesting stuff going on in the Starcraft scene right now, I thought I'd just do a quick video to kind of mention to some of you what is going on in the scene and why there's no Brood War videos, etc. I mean, a lot of you guys, if you keep up on StarCraft and you're going to the fan sites and looking at news, then you probably know all of this stuff already. But some of you guys don't, and so I thought I'd let you in on what's going on. So first of all, why are there no Brood War videos? Well, I haven't been doing any commentaries because there haven't been any videos. There haven't been any VODs. The Basically, if you haven't heard, there was some negotiations where Blizzard had an agreement with Greytech, the company that's either owns or is somehow associated with GOM TV, and they got exclusive rights to all video content for Blizzard games. And so now, basically, they're trying to say, okay, well, you can't do Brood War now without our permission. And so Greytech is a different company from OGN and NBC, the two gaming networks. So the gaming networks are basically legally prohibited from distributing Brood War content. Now, so they've been in negotiations. They've been trying to figure things out, and I guess I think it's all pretty complicated. It doesn't really matter because nothing's sorted out too much. But there's been some stuff going down where Greytech made an agreement with OGN, but then Kespa said something about how they wouldn't let them do it unless they could broadcast Pro League on both OGN and NBC or something like that. The teams were mad. The teams kind of did a backlash too, where they weren't going to participate in GOM TV stuff, and some programmers have actually retired in order to kind of get into that. So anyway, so a bunch of stuff going down. Basically, it does look like Pro League is probably going to happen at some point this or next month, maybe. It looks like they're going to work something out, probably, because at the very least they've worked something out with OGN. But I'm not sure. We're really just not sure what's going to happen at this point. Now, I remember a year or two ago, over the last couple of years, I guess, people have kind of asked me what I thought was going to happen with the release of StarCraft 2. And my prediction was that it wouldn't. First of all, my prediction was that I knew that every foreign player was going to switch to StarCraft 2 immediately. And that's pretty much happened. There's been a couple people that have hung on to Brood War, but for the most part, every foreigner has switched over to StarCraft 2. Every competitive foreigner, with a few exceptions. So that's what's happened. So pretty much the foreign Brood War scene is the foreign competitive Brood War scene is dead. Just kind of like I anticipated, to be honest with you. And I didn't like pronouncing that prediction, but it made the most sense, and here it is. There's no more Brood War tournaments going on outside of Korea. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but pretty much nothing real major and competitive. Now, the other thing, when I was asked about what happened in Korea, is I said that I thought that the Brood War scene would continue on, but that a lot of people would switch. And my prediction was that a lot of people who were really good at Brood War but weren't going to make it would switch. Like, I thought teams were going to kind of assign their lower level players who didn't play in Pro League that often to switch over to StarCraft 2, and that's pretty much also happened as well. Although in a lot of cases, it's not that the professional teams have sent their players over. It's that those players have switched over themselves. They've left their teams in order to join StarCraft 2 teams, or to be an amateur StarCraft 2 player, I guess. Well, I don't know if amateur is really the word for it, but so yeah, that's happened to a lot of people, and we've seen a lot of the lower level players switch over there. Notably, people like Idra, first of all, the STC, Cool, Tester. Those are some names off the top of my head, and they have been doing really, really well in the StarCraft 2 scene because they have programmer skills, and it's been really interesting to kind of watch parts of the recent GSL GOM TV Star League for the StarCraft 2, and a lot of those players who were kind of bad Brood War players in terms of the pro league, they have such superior skills just from being a pro gamer that they're able to completely excel in the StarCraft 2 universe. And so that's why we see Tester, for instance, who was a solid player but never really made it that high in Brood War, do really, really well in the GOM TV Star League. Cool, aka Fruit Seller, did extremely well in the GSL, despite being a very low level, low quality pro gamer in the Brood War scene. And then you have a lot of other players as well, like the STC, who was a really low level gamer, and he's doing well in the Korean ladder. I think he's 18th in the Korean ladder right now. So you have a lot of that going on. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about too, is just how things are transitioning over and explain. So hopefully we'll see some Brood War videos coming out, in the next month or two, and I will be continuing to do that on this account. But if there's no Brood War videos to do, there's nothing I can do about it. I might do some Brood War replays or something if I can find some good replays, but not as good as the Korean vids. Anyway, so it's really interesting to see how things are transitioning over to StarCraft 2. Something which I guess kind of went along with my prediction, which I didn't really think explicitly was going to happen, was that a lot of the old school StarCraft players are switching over to StarCraft 2. The players that did really, really well, a few years ago or several years ago in StarCraft 1 are switching over. So you have, for instance, Into the Rainbow, who is a very, very important early Brood War player, old school player. He was a finalist in the GSL. You have Churr, I don't know how you pronounce it, CHRH. Again, another old school. Silver, Silent Control, all very good old school players that are now switching over to StarCraft 2, and they've joined, StarCraft 2 teams and such. Now, this next GSL is going to be a very, very interesting Star League, because this first GSL, I think things were new, and a lot of these programmers hadn't switched over yet. And so I think this is going to be a different situation, because now that StarCraft 2 has shown that it's legitimate and things are winding down a lot with Brood War, with all these negotiations drawing things out, it's showing that Brood War might not last. A lot more gamers are switching over to StarCraft 2. Most notably, July Zerg and Nada, two absolute legends of StarCraft 1, have publicly announced that they are switching over to StarCraft 2. And Nada is actually, I think he's technically not a pro gamer right now, because he resigned from Kespa in order to participate in the GOM TV Star League. He's probably going to be in GSL 2. And yeah, and then of course, well, not of course, but then there's some other players who have switched over recently. And it's not just, I was expecting it to be only the sort of mid-low level players, but there's actually some high-level players that are switching over. MVP, for instance, a really, really big name. He was kind of a rising Terran star in the Brood War scene. He has been doing really well lately. He beat Baby, I believe. He took a game off of Flash and TVT. He got in the round of 16s recently, and he was really looking. If he stayed in Brood War, he probably could have made a name for himself in the next excuse me, in the next couple seasons. But he has actually switched over to StarCraft 2, and so I expect to see him being a really big name in the Brood War scene, in the StarCraft 2 scene, because he's basically kind of the best Brood War player that has switched over to StarCraft 2. And then, very, very notably, they haven't made any official announcements or anything like that, but the players like Boxer and I Love Uv, it's been pretty confirmed, have StarCraft 2 accounts and are playing. Boxer is going by Man of One Way on the Korean ladder. And I'm actually going to be putting out some games of Boxers on my StarCraft 2 account, Moletrap SC2. So if you want to watch Boxer playing some StarCraft 2, I'm going to be doing some replays from Team Liquid of him versus Jinro on the ladder there pretty soon. Anyway, and then Uv has an account, and there's just a lot of different players kind of sort of moving to switch over. And it's really interesting to see how that's going, and it's really cool to see too, because it's a chance for it's a second chance for a lot of these older pro gamers like July Zerg and Nada. I think July Zerg and Nada, they were never going to make it again in Brood War. Flash has solved Starcraft, and Jaedong is a close second as far as just being completely indomitable. And so there's no way that July or Nada or Boxer or Uv could ever really be competitive again in Brood War. And so StarCraft 2 is a chance for them to come out with into this new game, and things aren't completely settled yet. No one has solved the game yet. The game isn't even stable yet. They're still fixing it. They're still patching it. So it's going to be really cool to see what these players who just completely changed StarCraft 1 with their innovations, who just were so creative and so new at StarCraft 1 and made StarCraft 1 what it is today. It's going to be really cool to see what they can do with a new game. Boxer, of course, known for his creativity. We're going to have to see what kind of crazy stuff he can come up with in StarCraft 2. Although a lot of players are actually succeeding with being a little bit creative, and I wonder if it's interesting to think about how things were maybe a little bit more creative back in the old days of Brood War. Perhaps because things hadn't been solved so much, things hadn't been narrowed down to a science so much, and so maybe that's what we're seeing here in StarCraft 2, is that because things haven't been narrowed down to an exact science yet, people have a little bit more opportunity to do nutty things. But anyway, that's going to be cool to see what kind of play we can see from those old pros there. So anyway, that is pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of let everyone know that Brood War videos, I'll be continuing to make them if there's videos, but the state of Brood War is kind of tenuous at the moment, but it is a very exciting time to see all these StarCraft pro gamers switching over to StarCraft 2. And I really do think that, like I was started to say earlier, that GSL 2 is going to be a different scene altogether, because you had a few pro gamers, you had Cool, you had Tester, you had Into the Rainbow in the GSL, but you could tell that it wasn't pro gamer quality. I mean, I could tell. I mean, I remember watching some round of 32 games, and you had players that just obviously didn't have the multitask of a pro gamer. They would move in and they'd attack with their Banshee, for instance, and just cloak it immediately and then ignore it. Whereas a pro gamer would attack and then keep an eye on it, and as soon as a unit came to attack it, then they would cloak it to preserve cloak energy, and then they'd micro it around while they were macroing. And even players in the round of 32, the top 32 players in the GSL, were not capable of doing that kind of multitasking. So with more pro gamers getting into StarCraft 2, I think we're going to see the level of competition go up, and I think we're going to see people that easily got into the round of 64 of the GSL are not going to be able to survive, not be able to get that high up in the GSL 2. That's just, I don't know, just a random prediction. We'll see how it goes. It is cool to see, though, that there's a little bit more, what am I trying to say? It's a more even playing field, because you do have players that can do pretty well in StarCraft 2 that don't have these uber skills, and I know that was a complaint of a lot of high level StarCraft players, that the skill ceiling was going to be too low in StarCraft 2. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But like I said, the fact that some of the pro gamers were able to do so well in the GSL because of their superior skills, I think shows that that skill ceiling is a little bit higher than we originally thought. So anyway, but either way, it is cool, though, to see some of these foreign gamers, for instance, doing decently well and putting up a good fight. You had TLO, a foreign player, getting into, what did he get into? The round of 32 of the GSL, so pretty high up there. Anyway, so yes, to attempt to conclude one more time, if there's Brood War videos, which hopefully there will be, I'll be doing some more commentaries perhaps later this month. In the meantime, I'm going to be doing a lot of StarCraft 2 videos, because it is an exciting time for StarCraft 2, and I've got almost all of October off. My work has cut most of my hours for October. Yay! Oh wait, no, income is good, so it would be good to have hours, but in the meantime, I am going to be able to produce tons of videos this month, and be able to play a lot of month too. I've been balanced on the edge of the top of Platinum for a long time, trying to get into Diamond, so that's my goal for the month, is to get into Diamond in the StarCraft ladder. Anyway, yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. and I'll try and get back to you on those. But in the meantime, go check out my other channel for some StarCraft 2 vids. Take care.